Episode 2. That's right, law fans. It is time for Legaleze 101, Episode 2. Today we're going to talk about negligence. Negligence. What does it mean? Let's start with Black's Law Dictionary. This is the dictionary we lawyers use, mostly in law school, because by the time we get out of law school, we know all this stuff. Sort of. Negligence. Starts here, definition goes on, and on, all the way to about right there. And then they have some other words related to negligence too. It's huge. It's too much. I don't think one word can mean that much personally, but let's see. I think we should start with just the first paragraph and go from there. Negligence. The omission to do something which a reasonable man, guided by those ordinary considerations which ordinarily regulate human affairs, would do, or the doing of something which a reasonable and prudent man would not do. What the heck does that mean? Hard to say. Maybe it's not too hard to say though. Essentially, being negligent means you're acting as a reasonably prudent person wouldn't do. It means you're being unreasonable. Essentially, in common parlance, it means you're being a knucklehead. Does that mean you're a bad person? No. Heck, we've all been negligent from time to time because we've all been unreasonable from time to time. Does that mean we've all been knuckleheads from time to time? Yeah, probably so, but that's okay. Let's talk about what negligence means in the context of North Carolina personal injury law though. When you have a negligence claim and you're trying to prove that someone's negligence led to your injury and they owe you for it, you have to prove 4 things: duty, breach, causation, and damages. Now, causation and damages can get a little more complicated than they sound, and that's for maybe 1 or 2 other episodes of Legaleze 101. Today, we're just going to talk about duty and breach for just a second because those 2 things together really equal negligence. Duty. You have a duty to act as a reasonably prudent person, or a duty not to be a knucklehead, in other words. Breach. Whenever you're a knucklehead, or you act as a reasonably prudent person wouldn't act, you've breached that duty. You're being a knucklehead. So, that means you're negligent. Let's do some examples, because I love examples. First, example number 1. You're driving here, that's a car, don't know if you can tell, but that's what I meant it to be. You're at a stoplight. Guy smashes into the back of you with his car. But, here's why he did it. His brakes unexpectedly failed. He had no idea that was going to happen. That does not equal negligence on the part of that driver. Why? Because it wasn't unreasonable for him to be driving around. We all do that. We all drive. We don't expect our brakes to fail if we have no notice that they're going to fail. So he wasn't being unreasonable. He wasn't being a knucklehead. So he's not negligent. Second part of that example. Same setup. You're sitting here in your car at a stoplight. This ding-dong is looking down at his phone. Bang! Smashes into the back of you. That is negligence. Why? Because he's being a knucklehead. You don't drive and look down at your phone. That's not safe. That's not reasonable. So it's negligence, right? Makes sense so far. Let's look at example number 2. Example number 2. This, once again, is another car. You're driving along, going the speed limit, looking good. This is a crosswalk. This is a do not walk sign. This guy, little pedestrian, darts into traffic. Darting pedestrian does not equal driver negligence. Why? Because this driver is being reasonable. He's going the speed limit. He's watching where he's going. This guy jumps in front of him. The pedestrian is the one who's being unreasonable here. He's the knucklehead, so the pedestrian is negligent in that situation. Second part of that example. Same setup, except driver this time is speeding. He's going too fast. Probably not looking where he's going either because look, this guy's walking across the crosswalk and this is a walk sign, which means there's probably a stop sign right here too at the same time, or a stoplight, but I didn't put that in there. So anyway, he's in the road. Pedestrian has the right of way once he's established himself in the crosswalk. This guy's speeding. There's a walk sign. That is probably driver negligence, in my opinion. Because driver is speeding, pedestrian has the right of way, and there's a walk sign telling the pedestrian that it's okay for him to go. Now there may be a question of whether or not the pedestrian had a chance to see this guy speeding towards him and is possibly contributorily negligent. We'll talk about what that means in another episode. But still, at least one of them is being a knucklehead, and that's the driver for sure. Maybe the pedestrian too, but the driver for sure. So essentially, how do we break all this down? Once again, negligence really means you're being a knucklehead. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, just means you messed up. Happens to us from time to time. It's okay. So, these were simplistic sort of examples. They're not exhaustive. They're not going to detail every possible type of negligence because there are lots. I see them all the time. but hopefully it's helped you to understand what negligence means and how it works in the context of North Carolina personal injury law. I appreciate you joining me today on Legaleze 101. And remember, if you have any questions about any North Carolina law, go to jeffreyhowardlaw.com and get in contact with me, and I'll do my best to help you out. If I can't help you, I'll try to find someone who can. Thanks a lot. Look forward to seeing you next time.